So today we're going to take a look at an announcement by Evil Geniuses and something that they are going to do with their Valorant roster, which is quite different from what a lot of the other teams are doing, and it might have confused some people. And I think had this not been Evil Geniuses, this might have caused, a few more questions to come about from this kind of strategy. But let's talk about why they might be doing this. But first, let's watch their announcement video to find out what we're talking about.
You can't just buy a legacy. You have to build it. That's perfect. A 10-person roster for our 10 fans.
Yes, a 10-person roster for our 10 fans. You can't quite see this black shadow here, but this is another one of these, unknown portraits, you might say. You got the old EG team here with Ethan and BCJ as well. That, is kind of the confirmed EG roster to at least start. But then it seems like EG want to sign 3 other players. And I don't know if they're just unannounced or unsigned or what the deal is, but it seems like they want to get in 3 more people to build a 10-man roster. And a lot of you are probably thinking, why on earth would you want a 10-man roster? Why does that make any sense whatsoever, right? Because obviously, if you're the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th person on this roster, are you actually ever going to play? And the answer is, honestly, probably no, right? You're probably not going to play. I would suspect that, most games are going to be played by the same 5, maybe a map or 2. You add in like a 6th if, they're very good on a specific agent on a specific map. Maybe you could add that in, but not for like the 9th, 10th person. They're never going to play, and you have to pay these people as well, right? There's a minimum salary required by Riot that EG is going to have to pay all of these people. I think they might need to give them housing as well, EG. So there's like, a lot going on here, in terms of cost for the org as well, to build a 10-man roster. And we've seen pretty much all the other rosters so far, are the mandatory 6-man roster. That's what most teams are going with. A couple are going with 7-man rosters, it seems. But 10 is obviously on the extreme side, and it's just EG doing it. So why on earth would they ever do this? Well, for me, the reason EG have probably done this, or at least the reason that I hope that they have done this, is all to do with how you practice in Valorant. Currently, right now in Valorant, most teams will go through a, concept theory stage, right? A comp that they want to play on a map, or, an execute that they want to perform onto a site and how they're going to do that, right? Their defensive setups, all that stuff. They will then, run that through in the server, right? Like dry time, run that through just on a custom game on their own, just those like 5 people and the coach or whatever, run that through, when are we using this utility? I'm going to stun here, you're going to stun this, you're going to flash at this time, you're going to dash in here, and then you're going to do this, right? Just working through like all the basics of everything you need to do to get that in the right place. You'll then go and obviously scrim it and practice those things, right, in scrims and see if they work, see if they don't work, right, what needs to improve, what doesn't, all that stuff, and you'll review that, right, as a team. You'll go through it, analyze, what was good, what was bad, what do we need to change, all that, and you'll go back to the drawing board if you need to, and, you run through the process again, and this is what pretty much is currently happening. But when you add in a 10-man roster to the mix, the one thing that you can do that you couldn't do otherwise is you can scrim against yourself. You can go into a custom game yourself with your 10-man roster and practice against yourself. And that has some real advantages, because in a normal scrim, you don't want to be, rude and like waste your opponent's time. You want to take it seriously. You want to give them a fair game, let them practice on what they need to practice as well, right? And so you'll just, probably play a somewhat normal game and, focus on what you want to focus on and whatnot, but otherwise a fairly normal practice. Whereas with a 10-man roster and in these custom 10-mans with your own squad, you can do quite a few different things. And here is like how I would lay out a normal football coaching session from my days when I did a degree in football coaching. This is how you would normally lay that out, right? Where we've got the same kind of normal stuff that we were doing before, but we've added in 2 extra stages, which is limited opposition practice and full opposition practice. And limited opposition practice would be where you essentially... In Valorant, it would be like your opponents having classics or something, right? They are there, they can shoot back at you, but they aren't really a big threat. You've got guns and they've got classics, right? That would be kind of the equivalent, I would say, where they're there, they might cause you a bit of pressure, but you still should be able to win every single time, pretty much, no matter what. And, you'll be happy. It's limited opposition practice, but it is, some pressure on the situation. And then you move to full opposition practice. And what the difference between full opposition practice and a scrim is that you can essentially set it up how you want to. You're still very much in the concept theory stage of, let's say we wanted to just work on our A executes on a map like Haven. We would, be only doing that, right? And we could set up the defensive side however we wanted. We could put 3 people there, we could put 1 person there. We can set it up how we want for whatever situation we want as well. And we're only ever going towards A, right? We're not running a full scrim where we're seeing what we do across the map. We are only going towards A, and that is all we are focusing on. And, if you did that in a scrim, obviously that comes to become a bit predictable. And again, the other team might feel like you're wasting their time a bit. But obviously in a full custom game, 10-man, you can do what you want. You can put however many defenders you want on that site as well and determine the position of the defenders and what you think, it is a good situation to work on. And then you would go into a full scrim. And the idea behind this theory is that, you slowly build it up, right? You go from no opposition to then very limited opposition, right? Put a bit of pressure on that situation. Then you ramp that up a bit more and you go to like a full opposition practice where now they're fully shooting back at you, right? And you slowly work it up. And then you go into a scrim and, you again practice it again, this time with a team that doesn't know what you're doing and doesn't know the situation. And, now you just play a full game. And the beauty of this kind of system, the beauty of what this does for a team, is it allows you to get very, very specific with the things that you want to work on. As far as I know, in Valorant scrims right now, there are no big pistol scrims, right? If you would just want to work on pistol rounds on every single map with another team, that probably isn't happening right now. But you could if you're EG. Right, you could just go through every map in your 10-man custom game and just run pistol rounds on attack side, defense side, and run 10 of them, for each side. And you can just do that on every single map if you wanted to, right? Whereas other teams might struggle to do that. You can just run pure, eco only. Again, in a scrim, if you only wanted to focus on your eco rounds and said you only ever bought Stingers, Marshals, Spectres, and whatever, the other team would, again, probably think that you're trolling them, right? Why aren't you properly trying to fight us back? But if that's all you wanted to work on in a custom game, you can do that in your 10-man roster. And so if you have a weakness on eco rounds, if you're not winning as many as you should be, you can solely dedicate a lot of time to focusing on just that and figuring out, the best ways and coming up with tactics for just that and really, really work on that as much as you want to, right? And that is the beauty of this 10-man roster system, is that it allows you to really get specific and focus on very specific things that you need to work on. That is the beauty of the 10-man roster. Another crucial thing as well is instant feedback. This is something in coaching that you'll definitely hear people say. The importance of instant feedback is a little document on what is instant feedback and why is it important. I'll just tell you this, it is important. I think one of the reasons in particular that instant feedback is important, more important than, just feedback in general, is because we as people don't like to be criticized. No one likes to be criticized and told that they are doing something wrong. And so we will make excuses for ourselves. As human beings, we will always try and excuse ourselves from any situation. So if I tell you that you overpeaked yesterday in a scrim, you might be like, that was me of yesterday. I would never do that today. I've, of course, learned from that situation and I will never do it again, right? And you will distance yourself from that decision because that was a past you. That was so long ago. Of course, you're a better person now. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And so you don't learn from the situation because you try to excuse yourself. Whereas if I tell you at the moment that you just overpeaked in that situation, you just made that decision, why did you do it? There is no excuse making. You just made the decision. I've just caught you red-handed doing it in the act. There is no excuse, right? And so you are almost forced to kind of learn from that then. You can't excuse yourself anymore. It's right there for everyone to see. You just made that decision. Why did you do it? Can we correct that, right? And so again, this is something that in a custom 10-man with a 10-man roster, you can do. You can stop the session. You can pause the session, mid-round and say, hold on, we need to fix something here mid-round. You can't really do that in a scrim and tell your team, give us 5, hold on, wait, mid-round, like, we just made a mistake, we just want to come back and correct it. You can't do that, right? But in a custom 10-man, you can, and you can give that instant feedback if you see that something is going wrong, and again, that is only going to help you improve. And so that was just my thoughts on the EG 10-man roster. Let me know what you thought in the comments down below. Do you think this idea will work, or will it just go up in flames and everyone will mock EG for the rest of time?